is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
First reading. A reading from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 2, verses 8 to chapter 3, verse 4. But you, mortal, hear what I say to you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I give you. I looked, and a hand was stretched out to me, and a written scroll was in it. He spread it before me. It had writing on the front and on the back, and written on it were words of lamentation and mourning and woe. He said to me, O mortal, eat what is offered to you. Eat this scroll and go. Speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he gave me the scroll to eat. He said to me, Mortal, eat this scroll that I give you, and fill your stomach with it. Then I ate it, and in my mouth it was as sweet as honey. He said to me, Mortal, go to the house of Israel, and speak my very words to them. The word of the Lord.
Today, the Holy Mother Church celebrates the memorial of Saint Clare. Let us move on to the Word of God. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus, asking, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? So Jesus called a child to come and stand in front of them, and said, I assure you that unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. The greatest in the kingdom of heaven is the one who humbles himself and becomes like this child. And whoever welcomes in my name one such child as this welcomes me. See that you don't despise any of these little ones. Their angels in heaven, I tell you, are always in the presence of my Father in heaven. What do you think a man does who has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost? He will leave the other 99 grazing on the hillside and go and look for the lost sheep. When he finds it, I tell you, he feels far happier over this one sheep than over the 99 that did not get lost. In just the same way, your Father in heaven does not want any of these little ones to be lost. The Gospel of the Lord. My dear friends in Jesus Christ, we usually believe that children should learn and follow the examples of the adults. But unfortunately, in our society, we see people acting childishly. But today, Jesus wants us to act like a child, because he wants us to be like a child in front of God the Almighty. Especially today, he brings out the difference between the two worlds, the kingdoms as such. The kingdom of the world, or the worldly kingdom, and the heavenly kingdom. My dear friends in Jesus Christ, to own the membership in the heavenly kingdom, we should be childlike. Why should we childlike? Why should we learn the characteristics of a child in order to gain the membership of heaven? My dear friends in Jesus Christ, a child is always humble. child does not look for prominence in society. The child will always do his part and move back. Jesus wants us to be humble as a little child. And also, a child is always dependent on its parents. Child knows that his parents or her parents will provide him or her. We too need to foster this attitude of dependence. Today, in today's technological advancement, we see how we try to become independent. Most of the people in this secularistic world try to put away God and try to stand up independently. They don't want to accept the divine aspect in our life. My dear friends in Jesus Christ, if we are to enter into the heavenly kingdom, we need to be dependent on God the Almighty. Through being dependent on God the Almighty, we can experience that freeness. We can experience that tranquility in our life. And thirdly, we need to have a trust, as a little child trust his or her parents. A little child will never refuse anything from their parents because they know that their parents will only do good for them. And we need to have that trust in us. We need to trust in God the Almighty that He's always with us. He will deliver us from all the difficulties that we are going through. He will provide us the healing that we are expecting. And through this trust that we are able to have a solid relationship. Therefore, let us learn the habits of a child. Let us learn the characteristics of a child in order to enter the kingdom of heaven. My dear friends in Jesus Christ, so let us ponder over these points in our reflection today. God bless you.
Sri Wachanayano